Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Riku and
Matt.
Today
we're going to do a Q&A and answer some of your guys' questions. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Most of the things in our relationship are good, I think. But I think one of the little difficulties we had when we first started dating, we met in Japan, and at that time, Riku was still living with her parents, and Riku's parents are really awesome. Like I love them. They were super nice to me from the beginning, but I think the difficulty at first was Riku still lived with her parents. I'm 26, and I was living in Japan by myself, right? I was used to an independent adult life, doing what I want when I want, but Riku still lived with her parents, and so there were some times when I wanted to do whatever we wanted, but Riku had to, still follow her family's rules. And sometimes there was a little bit of that conflict where I'm like, oh, can't we do this? And Riku's like, oh no, my mom says we can't do that right now. And I had to go on suru and kind of deal with it. But it wasn't a huge deal. That was just one of the little difficulties we faced with that. And that was only in Japan, so I just had to be patient.
Good.
Do you have any answers to that question?
It's very difficult because we don't have any difficulties or have trouble much.
Yeah,
right?
Most of the time,
Fine.
we're made for each other. So yeah.
So that's that.
That's that.
First, we are not religious.
Yeah, we're both not religious. So my family grew up Christian, but I'm not Christian really. So we didn't have any conflict with religion because of that. And it's kind of funny. So talking about where to live. So when we first started dating, it was the summer. And then after we started dating for a few months, we started talking about the future. I was an English teacher in Japan. And every December is when I have to choose if I'm going to stay in Japan for another year. And at the time I was thinking, okay, do I want to stay in Japan for another year or do I want to go back to America? And for me, I love Japan. I was a little homesick, but I was also I'm okay with staying in Japan for a little longer. But then when I started talking with Riku was very set. Riku was like, no, I want to leave Japan. And because of that, I'm like, oh, Riku's really set on this. I guess I have to go back to America. I still kind of wanted to go to America, but I was 50-50. Riku was like, we're going to America.
I thought you want to.
Well, no, I did, but you were the one that was very set on 100%, we're going to America. Yeah. And I was like, well, okay.
I really wanted to.
Yeah, which is cool. But
so we were sure when we were in Japan, we're gonna live in the States forever, right?
Well, yeah.
We thought so before.
Yes, for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, for the most part.
Both of us, yeah.
Both of us, yeah. But then when we came here, we were kind of about it.
Yeah, when I came back here, I had a little bit of reverse culture shock where, when I lived in Japan, I'm oh, I miss these things about America. And then when I got here, I'm oh, now I miss these things about Japan. And then Riku, after she got to America, she got to see some of the good and bad of America life. And now we're both starting to lean towards someday maybe going back to Japan.
So we're not sure yet, right?
We're not really sure yet, yeah.
We don't know yet, so.
Yep.
So for the Kinsen Kankaku thing, when I came here, he actually prepared everything for me, apartment and everything, right? Furniture and everything like that.
Yep.
We both have some differences between how to use money. I am more so oh, I want to save most of the time. If I want something and if I think, oh, I don't need it right now, I don't buy it, right? But then for you, it's oh, I want this. Oh, I bought it. You're really quick.
Okay, listen. All right, listen. Sometimes I want to buy stuff, right? And it is true. There's a lot of Americans that just like to impulsively buy.
Yeah.
I want this, boom. I want this, boom.
You don't really think about it.
But compared to a lot of other people, I'm pretty good about it. See, the difference is, sometimes I feel Riku is way too far the opposite direction. We have, nothing at our house. It's very barren. Riku's as long as I got food, as long as I got the bare minimum, like I'm not gonna buy anything. And I'm like, well, Riku, wouldn't it be nice to have this? And you're like, no, we don't need that. And I'm like, Riku, like, what? Can't we just enjoy life a little bit and get some nice pleasures? Like, can't I get like a nice candle that smells nice that we can put in our bathroom? But you're, no, we don't need that. And I'm like,
we have it.
But that's because someone gave it to us, and now we're already almost out of it, and I want to buy another one. And Riku's like, no, we don't need that. Like,
yeah, those kind of things are a little difference between us, but not a big deal, right?
No. You have to admit, though, I'm better than a lot of Americans, right? Like, when you come to my friends' houses, right, isn't it crazy? Like, they have a lot of stuff, a lot of random stuff that they just don't need.
Don't need. And then they don't know how to clean stuff or, like, organize
right.
stuff. It's like, oof.
Right, so you gotta admit, I'm a little better at that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm super surprised, though, because I thought you don't really like shopping, but then you like online shopping.
It depends on what it is. I don't buy clothes and stuff very often, but, like, if it's something like a hobby or something I like, I'm willing to put some money towards it.
Like, do you need it? Like, and then what about the lifestyle differences?
Lifestyle
difference?
difference?
Do you have lifestyle difference?
Do we really? I think we're pretty similar.
Yeah, pretty similar. But one thing is the shower.
Oh, yeah. That's like the biggest difference, I think. I got the impression that most people in Japan, like almost everybody in Japan, takes the showers and ofuro at like night, right? Before they go to bed.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some people do that in America, but I think a lot of people in America, like me, they prefer to shower in the morning because for me, showering in the morning, it wakes me up. And then after you shower, you're all kira, you know, very pretty. You're all like clean and stuff, right? So you're ready to go out to work and like look good and stuff to start your day. I prefer showering in the morning. And so that's one lifestyle difference between us.
Yeah. Here's the thing though, like I've been to Canada to study abroad for 1 year. So I know some of the Western culture, right?
Yeah.
And then also I'm from Japan and I'm Japanese. So I know Japanese culture as well.
Yeah.
And you the same way, right?
Yeah.
You went to Japan for 2 years to teach English.
Yeah.
And then you're from America, so you know Western culture. So we are kind of like half.
I mean, that makes it easier for us because we both have lived in we've both lived outside of our countries.
Right.
But in general, when it comes to relationships, I think the most important thing is setting, like, you know, first of all, you have communication. You also have to have expectations for each other. And it has to be very clear what your expectations are. Because that's where I can see the problem with a lot of, you know, Japanese and Western mixed relationships is Japanese people grow up with very clear rules that are given to them by their families, right? And you're expected to follow those rules without being told because that's just what everyone does. And for a lot of Western countries, people, you know, have a lot more focus on like personal freedom, what we want to do because we have the right to do it. And so for a Japanese person, I think all the time, it's like they don't know how to say their true feelings or how to, you know, they're like, oh, they should just know that they shouldn't leave their socks on the floor and stuff. They should just know that. Why do they keep doing it? And it's like, if you know... But the key thing is, right, in that situation, you have to at least say once to the person, hey, I don't like it that you're putting your socks on the floor. Can you please pick them up? After that, if they keep on putting their socks on the floor, that's when you can get mad and keep on, you know, building. But a lot of times what people do is they keep it bottled up inside them. They're like, oh, they should just know that. But they're not saying it until they eventually, just explode. And the other person's like, whoa, why are you freaking out so much? Like, you didn't say anything to me. Key thing is, when there is something that is troubling you, you should be comfortable telling your partner that. If you're not comfortable telling your partner that, then maybe you shouldn't be in a relationship. And on the other hand too, right? If your partner is telling you a trouble that they have, you should be able to listen to them and try to change yourself. Or ask yourself if you can change. Because you have to give that give and take in a relationship. So that would be my advice for that. Yeah.
To be honest, like I don't feel that way because I love English and that's what I want to do. That's why I came here to speak English forever. So I don't feel that, but what about you?
So for me, ちょっとだけ日本語話せますけど、日本語はとても難しい. And Riku is really Jozu at English, right? Like she said, she always likes to speak English, right? So it's kind of like a crutch for me. It's really like, oh, I can just use English all I want, and she's always going to understand me. But I do want to get better at Japanese. Sometimes you use Japanese, and like my speaking ability in Japanese isn't so good, but my listening and reading is pretty good. So if she talks at me in Japanese, most of the time I can understand her. I don't know, what do you think, Riku? If I couldn't understand Japanese, do you think our relationship would be different?
I think so, because like that's what our relationship is like working, I feel like, because you know Japanese and Japanese culture, and if you're just American who speaks just English, not Japanese, and who doesn't know any Japanese culture and stuff like that, I think it's difficult for us to like have this exactly the same like relationship.
Yeah,
I think
it's true. Yeah.
It's sometimes funny because you said, oh, so let's practice Japanese, and you're talking with me in Japanese, and so Riku, nantoka 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 nantoka, and then a while later you say like, oh, I'm so tired, can I speak English now? Fine.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because you started and you're like, oh, I'm tsukareta. So you feel that way, right?
I feel that way. I know how you feel. Specifically for a kokusai one, you have to make sure when you come across those cultural differences, if you don't understand it at first, you don't want to be too mean about it, or you don't want to be too surprised.
Right.
Like sometimes we'll come across things where Riku's like, oh, this is like what we do in Japan. I'm like, what? Like I'll say that at first, but then I'm like, okay, Matthew, don't say something mean. Like sometimes I'm like, what? But then I have to like stop myself and be like, okay, Matthew, just try to understand. Like don't, yeah. And then there's sometimes too moments where Riku, like I'll like do something American. What are you doing? And I'm like, this is what we do in America. And then she at first is like, what? But then she like holds back, like, okay, like don't say anything mean. Like,
like just like understand or accept, you know, each other's culture.
Yeah. What do you think about the rule one? Is there like a rule between us?
It's not a rule, but we do everything like together, like half. We're not like doing one is more, like one is more. You know what I mean?
Right. We try to split up the housework and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, we don't really have any spoken rules. Like we have like unspoken rules that we just kind of realize that we should do. Like, I guess for me, going back to what I said earlier, one of our unspoken rules is, well, you can't get mad at me for something if you didn't tell me it was a problem in the first place. So if there's something that like you don't like about my habits, you can tell me and we can talk about it. Just you can't blow up at me if I don't know it, right? Because that's all about communication. Which, is there anything that we've had to do to like change with that?
Because for me, right, I'm Japanese.
Yeah.
I'm not used to it. So sometimes like I have hard time telling you like this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, I have to say something to you.
Right.
But I have like
we've had a couple moments like Riku was telling me she wants to go with something. I'm like, no, why should we go there? That doesn't make sense. And then Riku got a little upset by it, but instead of telling me she was upset, she just kind of walked away. And I was like, Riku. And then later on, we talked about it. And then finally, she said she was upset by it. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And I apologized. I said, I'm sorry I upset you with that. But you have to tell me if what I said upsets you. Like,
but then for me, then like that doesn't like matter at that time. You know what I mean? Like, so that was kind of like our different thinking or like stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a Japanese thing or that's what I grew up on or like.
Yeah.
But
I mean, just to go back to it. So I guess our one rule is like, again, communication. Like, if we have an issue or if we think we have an issue, we bring it up to each other. In a calm environment where no one's like getting heated or anything yet, right?
Yeah.
Just we start off in a calm place like, hey, can I talk to you about something? And then we listen to each other. That's it.
That's it for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you like it.
If you have any more questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up.
And don't forget to subscribe to my channel.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye.